Welcome or welcome back to Cooking with Frenchy, cooking and baking made easy. Make sure before we start you subscribe as usual, you follow me, you change your notification setting, and you also check the show more section for more recipe. So today it's about making your sourdough bread. Beautiful bread made at home in your comfort of your own kitchen without added yeast. The full recipe is at cookingwithfrenchy.com with more photos and tips. However, first of all, make sure you prepare your starter sourdough, and I've got other recipes and I will put in the show more section for it. And once you have your sourdough starter ready, just boil some water in a kettle, let it cool down, put it in a bowl or bowl mixer, add 650 grams of water, 10 grams of salt, 1 kilo of baker's flour, and your starter. I put about 120 grams of starter dough for this recipe. This should create 2 loaves of 850 grams approximately. And I just work the dough at speed 1 for about a minute and a half. It's just ready to combine the ingredients together. Tips here: make sure your water is not too hot, so below 35-36 degrees, and also make sure that your salt doesn't get in contact with your sourdough starter. So as you see, we don't look for something nice and slick, we just make sure that all the ingredients are combined. Then I'm going to move that to my bench and cover it and let it rest for 30 minutes. In my recipe as well on my website, you will see my timeline. So I start my sourdough starter and I feed it to make it active again for about 4 to 6 hours depending on the weather. So I pretty much start my bread on day 1 at 10 a.m. and 6 or 8 hours later I mix my dough and all my ingredients together at about 6 p.m. So here I'm just folding the dough up and down, just 3 or 4 times, cover it and let it rest for another 30 minutes. As you see, I already have some development, some bubbles, so carbon dioxide here. And 30 minutes later, I'm folding the dough again in the same bowl, up and down. So really it's to push back the dough. This will create your elasticity of the dough, will create your air bubble as well into it, and make sure we have a good development all over the dough, so it's a uniform development. Rest it for 30 minutes and do it again. As you see, the dough create more bubble, it looks more shiny, more silky, smoother. I really repeat that technique, one more time. So by 8 p.m. generally my dough is ready to ferment, and what we call bulk fermenting. So because it's cold here at the moment in Western Australia, I leave the dough on the bench overnight, and around 7 a.m. the following morning, look at that, the dough has triple or quadruple in volume. We can see the gluten strands, so that's elasticity and all those little air bubbles here and there. So that's a good indication, first of all, that we have a working dough, then the sourdough starter, our levain is working. Look at that. So that's a good result. When you have all those strands, you can be happy with it. Just put your dough on the bench. And we're going to divide it in 2 loaves. If you are equipped with Benetton, which is this rendang basket, that's good, and you already have some tools to work with and a scraper. I'm going to show you 2 techniques here. one with the rendering basket, and I put a hairnet on top because I don't have a liner, and I'm putting a little bit of rice flour. Rice flour is better than flour as it creates that white little patch on your bread for your design when you score your dough or cut your dough. So what we try to do here is to have a dough that is a bit slack. So I'm stretching the dough a little bit and bring it back to itself. So 3 times, top, middle, bottom, and all over it. And that's already tense my dough. So like this, I don't have to do much work with the scraper against the bench to tighten up the dough at the bottom. What we don't want to take all the gas out of the dough. We just want to tie it up to make it nice, silky, and a smooth top dough. So you can do with your finger like I do now, or you could use a scraper, whatever it is. As you can notice, there's no flour on my bench. It's really to help the dough. It could be a bit sticky. This dough has got 65% hydration. The more water you have, like 70%, 80%, 90%, you will have bigger bubbles or bigger holes in your bread, but also it will be way more sticky. Now I'm putting the doing the rendering, and I'm going to put, because I work from home, I'm going to put a bin liner or plastic bag over it, and just making sure that it's safe. And I will leave that in the fridge. I'm going to show you now, if you don't have a rendering basket or banneton, you can use just a bowl, use a hairnet, and also add rice flour to it. Just push it down, and same technique here. For the dough, I'm gonna stretch the top part of my dough, folding in, middle part, bottom part. So look, stretch, fold it in, middle, fold it in, bottom, fold it in, and fold back everything around side. And you see it's a bit rough right now, but as we push down, so really push down the dough with your fingers and bring it towards you, you'll see the dough is getting smoother. That's the elasticity created by the gluten. I don't want to be too technical here, I'm letting you too much, but look at that. Now we have a smooth dough. And here we go. If you work it too much, your dough might tear a bit, so it's about learning your bread. So I've been working on this recipe for about 15 months now. I've done different flours, different seeds and nuts through it, and personally I'm sharing this one as a simple example for now, and I'm sure I will show you more later down the track. So same, place your ball of dough upside down, bit more rice flour on top just to make sure it doesn't stick to the hairnet. If you don't have a hairnet, you can use the stockings, it works too. And again, a bit more flour, and I'm going to put another plastic bag on top of that. So that was on day 2. I'm gonna leave this for 12 hours at least minimum in the fridge to ferment. Personally, I'll leave it for 24 hours. So by 8 AM on day 3, I'll remove the plastic liner, the bean bag, and look at this. The dough has developed and fermented. So give me more sourdough flavor into it for nearly 24 hours. So we got a nice dough there, smooth, silky, shiny. And I'm going to use this time what we call a Dutch oven. So I'm just making sure I have a piece of silicone paper. I'm going to transfer my dough gently to the silicone paper without tapping too much. We don't want the carbon dioxide or the bubbles to explode. I'll remove the excess of rice flour if I do so, and I will score it with a sharp blade or a sharp knife. So I'm using a blade here. A nice deep score through the bread. I'm not an expert on scoring the bread as yet, so I'm trying different things every time. You will see at the end, I think my other bread looks a little bit better in terms of scoring. So that's easy for me to transfer my dish into my Dutch oven, and meanwhile I preheated my oven at 200 degrees. I start with a cold Dutch oven. Some recipe might tell you warm one. Cold works. Put in the oven for 40 to 45 minutes. Remove the lid, and here we are. Your bread is done. If you want something a little bit darker or more crusty, keep baking for a further 10 minutes, and now you can cut it. I recommend you wait for your bread to cool down for at least half an hour or 1 hour before you cut it. I couldn't wait that long. I was so excited, and look at that. So we can really see a small bubble here. So it's not big holes, which I actually like. Putting some butter into a bread that it's hot and with big bubble always goes away. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time for another episode of Cooking with Frenchie. Thank you.